Hello everyone, welcome back to the last video in our mini-series looking at all things student finance. So we've done videos 1 to 4, which has been mainly me talking actually, so you're probably a little bit bored of my voice, but that is fine because I'm not going to be doing a huge amount of talking this time. I'm actually going to be quizzing our student ambassador Liam about university and student finance. So a student's perspective. So Liam, I'm just going to fire some questions at you, and feel free
Yep.
to give an honest and open answer. That's not a problem at all. So the first question there is, what were your concerns about student finance? And kind of, we're talking before university primarily, but like
Yeah.
at university as well. And how did you kind of address these?
So I think, like most people, before you go to uni, the biggest concern is like the cost of university, like the thing everyone always talks about in the news and the politics and everything. But like we were talking in the fourth video, that's not what you should be concerning yourself with. It's the repayment plan that you should really be looking at, and that really big part of information, knowing that after 30 years, regardless of what happens, your loan is written off, and the fact it doesn't even affect your credit rating. I think that is two of the most important things you should really be looking at when it comes to student finance, because why would you not take that deal? It's like, if you have something you want to do at university, why wouldn't you take that like chance on it just to see if you can do it? Because even if you don't get through the course isn't for you. You could try switch even, but if you don't get through it, it doesn't matter because it's not going to really charge you that much in the future. You're not really going to pay it off. It's just going to get written off in the end. So by learning about this sort of like 30-year write-off, that's what really put all my fears to rest, and I was fully on board with putting all of it into going to uni at that point.
Fantastic. It's not a formal question, but I'll ask it just out of interest as well. Like when you were going through the motions of researching universities, filling in your applications, did you who did you speak to about money matters, things like that?
Um, so I think it kind of fell into place for me anyway, because there was a talk from, I think it might have been someone from Brighton came to my college in West London, and they were doing a talk, and I just happened to kind of be free on that hour, and I was like, I'll just go and see. I still wasn't too interested in uni at the time, but it was always just like, if the information is there, there's no harm in learning it. Sat there for the hour, listened to what he had to say, and it's, I'd say, one of the two biggest reasons that really kicked me into the university journey, I'd say.
Fantastic. So anyone that's watching this who I imagine actually there's probably quite a few people watching this who are in a similar situation, and I guess
Yeah.
maybe the takeaway is be open-minded because the system probably doesn't work in the fashion that you think it does, and the whole reason why we recorded tell you how it does work so that you can make an informed decision based on how it works rather than how it doesn't work, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So my next question for you, Liam, is did money concerns or misunderstanding about student finance, did that affect your decision to about going to university?
Yeah, it definitely had an effect. Because I know before knew anything, it was definitely a case of, why would I go to uni? I can't afford that sort of thing. But once I did know that it was possible, at least then it wasn't necessarily something that I was like, oh, I'll definitely go to uni now. I still had to find something I wanted to do before I decided on it. But it was definitely one of the most persuasive things that put me in the mindset of, it's possible. I can look at it now. It's actually a realistic option for me to research, look into, and work towards if possible.
Fantastic. You said a really interesting word in that, and that's afford. I speak
Yeah.
to a lot of students that see that £9,250 tuition fee figure, and their instant question to me is, Mark, how on earth do I afford that?
It's scary
And
as a teenager.
yeah,
When you're young,
it's scary as
as
an
such a
adult, I can assure
well,
you.
yeah, it's still scary, but I think knowing how it's done, it makes it a lot less scary, because that
Yeah.
number of, this is what you got to pay per year, you just kind of like freeze up and you're like, I can't do that, and then you kind of run away from it a little bit when you're a bit young. Because I suppose when you're younger, that's how you deal with some of those sort of situations. You just run away instead of actually dealing with it. But it's really good that once you research it and look into it, there's loads of ways to get it done.
And ultimately, as we've seen during this mini series, you don't, in most cases you don't actually need to afford it because you won't be paying it back anyway. But if you're scratching your head thinking, what is Mark on and Liam on about with that, go back and either watch or rewatch the videos and it will make a lot more sense.
Yeah, and like, even if say some of your money concerns is based on your parents or your household income, if anything, that will actually help you, because you will then have that extra bit of funding from student finance and maintenance loans. You'll have the extra bit, maybe if you only have your one parent, you get a bit of extra money from that. So people can sometimes feel like because they're in such a difficult position, they can't go to university, when in actual fact, sometimes it can be the best jumpstart to your university journey.
I think that's a really good. I mean, if you're happy to talk about it, your own personal
Yeah.
circumstances, you didn't have the assessment on both of your parents, did you?
No.
So did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I can do. So I obviously, at the time of going to university and finishing off my A levels, I mean, my home life was not great, but it was what it was, and I dealt with it. But it ended up being maybe some of the best things that could have happened to me at the time, because it jump started my university and made it a little bit easier for me to do it. And I'd already had the experience of living alone then, because on my last year of A levels, I had to move out, had to get I wanted to get A levels done, because at that point I was already fully on board getting to university, but grades weren't too good. Had to pick up a part-time job for every night. So it was a bit of a struggle, but I got there, and the extra help from having, say, the only one parent like assessment, because obviously I got estranged from one of my parents, so that gave me that extra bit of, I suppose, financial freedom when I first got to university, to go out and get myself these extra things, like go out and buy a laptop that I might need, or put down a deposit for the place that I need to be getting. So it was a massive help that
Yeah.
they have that extra bit of funding for people in need.
Yeah, so we said in one of the videos that the maintenance loan is dependent on your household income, and this is kind of living and breathing proof that this idea, the reason why that exists, is those who potentially need more financial support will be in receipt of it, and that's exactly kind of your story there, Liam. So kudos for getting to this point
Yeah.
and succeeding on your course, which is fantastic. It's genuinely heartwarming to see these and hear about these stories, and one of the good things about working in education. But this is not about me. Liam, back to you. Any financial support communities to help with it? We've kind of talked about that but is there anything else that maybe we're missing?
I've not had any maybe like direct from the university. I did apply to a bursary when I first came to the university. I just didn't quite qualify for it, but I still put my name down anyway, just to see it. Apply early if you're going to do that sort of thing. Even if you don't think you might not fully be eligible, if you know you hit some of the criteria, it's always worth just chucking your name down. And obviously, the uni will then be able to assess if you're fully eligible or not. It's always worth a shot, really.
Yeah, you don't have to pay for the application, or
Yeah,
you
no,
you don't have money taken away from you if you're not eligible for it. So yeah, if you think you're half eligible for a pot of money, do it.
yeah, man.
Do you think, Liam, this is quite a big question and we don't have a huge amount of time, but do you think higher education is worth the investment?
I think if you've got an idea of what you want to do and you have a course in mind that you are committed to doing, then yes. I always tell this to my friends who didn't when they went to uni when I was at college with them, and I still think about it now. If they're not 100% committed to that course, I usually would say leave it until you are, because you're just better off coming to uni in a committed state, because you don't want to come here and you know only really put half of your heart into it. You want to come here and put your whole heart into it, get the best grade you can, and come out feeling very fulfilled about what you've done at university. You don't want to be coming here just wasting your time.
Fantastic, really good there. Could you provide some examples of what you actually spend your maintenance loan on?
Yeah, so I live independently near the university, so it's very easy for me. But well, not we. I use my maintenance loan for obviously rent. I have to pay for my bills. That can include, internet. You got to pay for the water. You got to pay for the electric, gas if you have it. Um, and then if you're also going to be paying for, say, people my age now pay for a lot of Netflix. Obviously, you can use the maintenance loans to pay for that. Got a bit of Spotify, your phone bill. Can't forget about that. And then I've also used mine as a subsidiary to my savings that I save up over summer to pay for like my personal PC build that I'm using for the course, because that was very important for my course anyway, especially in a year like now where I have to be working from home a lot more. So it can really be used for whatever you can budget it for. That's
I th
just the best way you can put it.
that's a perfect segue, I think, to the next question, which with all of these plates that you have to spin, bills and laptop builds and all that sort of
Yep.
thing, like what are your top tips for managing money and maybe seeking out discounts and things like that?
Yeah, so you're a student, use your student discount. You use it everywhere. Even if you don't think they have it, pull it out. Just use your card and go, do you have this? Half the time they'll say yeah, the other half they'll say no, but you know, you're a student, you got to try and skimp out where you can. Don't be afraid to use stuff like Unidays, NUS. Unidays is a great website for finding out what they've got going on each month. I mean, I think I got an email the other day about an Intel sale for like 30%, not that I needed it. Sort of things just keep popping up and going around whenever they refresh it. And I'd say maybe one of the biggest tips for managing your money if you're a bit unsure about it is just a small part-time job can really help along the way. Because if you think about it, if the maintenance loan is for your main living costs, you can use the part-time job money that you're earning to be more for personal use, or you can use it for a bit more fun, a bit more just a bit of a bolster to stuff, or get extra food, or maybe if you don't feel like cooking one day, that little bit of extra money you have on the side can help you just go out and get some food on a takeaway or something.
Yeah, and it can really help kind of just relieve a little bit of pressure
Yeah.
in terms of finances there. Fantastic, really great answers there. We're going to call that done. So all that is left for me to say is thank you so much for watching this 5-part series covering student finance. Hopefully it's made sense. If it's not, then obviously the wonderful nature of these videos is you can go back and you can watch a certain section or watch the whole thing. It's really up to you, but hopefully it's made sense, and hopefully you can now see what I was referring to right at the beginning, in that once you understand the basics, the rest can then follow, because the argument is if you've been given misinformation here and you've misunderstood that, everything that follows, it just doesn't make sense, it doesn't fit, right? So we've covered the basics here so that when you research and when you see this in the future, you can build on what you know is true and accurate. So thank you so much, and all the best with your studies.